Hi, Pat here. When I make these videos, I spend a lot of time memorizing what I'm going to say, recording a lot of takes where I screw up what I'm going to say, and then even more time going through all those recordings to find the good takes. So, to help cut down on the time it takes to make these videos, I built my very own teleprompter. So, stick around and I'll show you how I made it. A basic teleprompter has three main pieces. First, there's a screen to display the words, which can be something like a tablet or a laptop. Next, you need a pane of glass that you angle at 45 degrees so it reflects the words back to the speaker. And finally, your camera has to go behind the glass inside a dark box so it can record the speaker without any reflections on that side of the glass. For my teleprompter, I had a couple other requirements. I wanted to connect to my existing tripod so it's easy to set up and use, and I want to be able to store it easily when I'm not using it, so all the pieces need to fold down together. With all that in mind, let's start building it. I started by buying a piece of glass from Home Depot, which only cost a few dollars. I wanted the pane to be 10 inches square, so I cut off the extra couple inches using a glass cutter. Glass edges are sharp and dangerous, so I made a simple frame out of half-inch square dowels. First, I used an 1/8 inch router bit to cut a groove into the dowels where the glass will sit. Then, I used my miter saw at 45 degrees to cut the pieces to fit around the pane of glass. Before gluing it up, I spray painted the frame with matte black. Then, I glued 3 of the sides together, slid in the glass, and glued on the last piece of the frame. Next, I went to work on making custom adapters for my tripod. The bottom of my teleprompter will need to slide into the tripod, so I started with some scrap oak board from an older project and cut it to the right length. Then I trimmed the height down to match the tripod adapter. To match the angled sides and flared opening of the tripod adapter, I sanded down the piece until it fit securely. Next, I wanted a little clearance between the teleprompter and the adapter piece I just made, so I cut some more pieces of the oak board and glued them together to make a piece the size I wanted. This piece will sit flush on the tripod mount and carry all the weight of the teleprompter. So I glued the tripod adapter to the bottom of this new piece. Since this part is critical to the stability of my tripod mount, I also added a couple screws just to make sure that everything holds tightly together. Next, I wanted to build a small platform for the camera so it's raised and centered vertically in the teleprompter. Using a different piece of scrap oak board, I cut 4 pieces to the same size and then glued them all together to make a nice solid platform for the camera. In retrospect, I should have glued the pieces together one at a time instead of all at once. When I was trying to clamp them, they slid around too much to get perfectly lined up edges, but it turned out good enough for this project. Next, I started working on the top adapter that'll hold the camera in place. I set the bevel on my miter saw to 15 degrees and cut 2 thin pieces of oak. These will be the sides of the mount. I then cut a longer piece without a bevel that'll be the back of the mount. The tripod adapter is flared at the opening and has less of a bevel there, so I used a file to shape the side pieces to fit correctly. Once the pieces were ready, I glued them into place on top of the camera platform. Once it dried, I cleaned up the edges on my miter saw. The main platform of the teleprompter is made from half-inch plywood, about 11 inches by 17 inches. I estimated where the center of gravity will be and marked where to glue the bottom tripod adapter. Again, to try to improve the strength and stability of the tripod mount, I used a couple screws to connect the base tripod adapter to the main platform. I attached the camera piece to the back of the main platform using glue and some more screws. Once the glue was all dry, I took it outside and painted the entire thing matte black, plus a few coats of clear coat. The bottom tripod adapter is pretty secure because of a screw clamp in the tripod, but the camera adapter just slides in and out of my homemade mount. So I added a nail to the back of the camera platform so I can use it as an anchor for a small bungee cord that'll hold the camera in place. Now, the camera won't accidentally fall out if I tilt the tripod forward and down. Next, I cut some small half-inch squares to attach to the frame around the glass pane. The legs that'll hold up the glass will rotate from these squares, so I pre-drilled some holes and then glued them to the frame. Then, I cut the legs from some 5/8 inch square dowels. I carefully marked where the leg will attach and then screwed the leg on using a number 4 screw and some washers. After repeating on the other side, I'm ready to attach the glass pane to the teleprompter. I used a very low-tech way of connecting the glass pane. I used black duct tape. I taped both sides for a nice strong connection, and now the frame can hinge up and down as needed. All that's left is to make a box around the back side of the teleprompter, around the camera section. I bought some black cardboard at the hobby store and started cutting the pieces to the right size for each side of the box. So I cut a piece for the top, both sides, and the back. Then I used some more of that black duct tape to connect the pieces together. Like before, I taped both sides of the connection. I also added a small flap in the front to prevent light leaking in from between the box and the glass frame. To help hold the box up when in place on the teleprompter, I added 2 small pieces to the bottom of the sides. I put some Velcro on each piece that then connected to the base of the teleprompter, so the sides will stay in place. The back of the box is only connected on one edge, so I can easily flip it up to access the camera. And when I need to store the teleprompter, the whole box easily folds flat. Now that I'm done building the teleprompter, let's set it up and try it out. For the screen, I'm using an old iPad. The App Store has a bunch of different teleprompter options which have a variety of features. For now, I'm using an app called Teleprompter Pro. It's not free, but it mirrors text, and I couldn't find a free app that does that. And since I'm reflecting the image, I had to find an app with that mirror feature. So there you have it. I now have a simple teleprompter that should hopefully make my videos easier to make. And if you want to make your own, you'll just need to modify the tripod mounts to match your own tripod, or leave them out entirely, which would actually make this even easier to build. Thanks for watching, and I hope this was useful. If it was, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And if you see anything I could have done better, let me know in the comments. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.